Today on the Sartorial Chef, I am bringing kale from the garden to the kitchen. First off, it is a fresh kale salad with a mustard vinaigrette. Then I'm doing a kale pesto flatbread with ricotta and parmesan. And last but not least, a classic Italian wedding soup. So why don't you pull up a chair and dine with me?
Hey everybody, we are in the garden once again. The garden season is coming to a close, but one thing I still have plenty of is kale. It is growing like a weed. And I thought, why not do a kale episode? That's exactly what I'm going to do. So I'm picking a bunch of this here. We're making 3 different dishes, so I need as much of this as I can get. Once I'm finished picking this, I will see you guys back in the kitchen. Welcome back, everybody. I am just rinsing off this kale from outside, letting it kind of drip dry. And we are moving on to my first dish. It is a simple yet elegant and flavorful kale salad. First, we're going to make my dressing. I always like to make my dressing first. You can make sure the seasonings are right, and then you just throw in your ingredients for the salad and toss it up and you're done. So first I want some lemon juice here. I'm rolling this lemon to release those juices. Just cut that lemon right in half. And I'm going to pick these seeds out here. If you ever see the seeds, go ahead and pick those out. We don't want them in our salad. And I'm just going to give this a big squeeze. So good. Okay. That should be good. I'm going to save the other half of my lemon, and I've got another lemon for some dishes we're going to make later on. I also need some Dijon mustard. About a teaspoon, just enough to know it's there. A little salt. I always season my dressings. A little pepper. And a little olive oil. I'm just going to drizzle this right in. Need about a couple tablespoons. And then I'm going to get out my fun little whisk and give that a little whisk. The mustard is going to emulsify the dressing. It's going to make it a kind of cohesive thing here. Oh, that smells so good. I just love lemon, fresh lemon. Just enough here to coat the kale. And this kale should be good and dry now. If not, you can always use, you have like a salad spinner, or you can take some paper towel or some kind of towel and just kind of let it dry. And then I'm just going to tear the kale up into manageable pieces here. Alright, that should be enough lettuce, I think. I have one more ingredient I would like to add, and that is pine nuts. I have toasted these pine nuts in my toaster oven for a few minutes on a low heat. I'm using these for a pesto that I'm making, but I thought I would throw a little in my salad here just to give it some crunch. The kale's already crunchy, but I like a lot of texture in my salad. And we'll get rid of this guy here. And we'll switch to tongs. And just come in here and get everything coated in that lovely dressing we just made. And does that not look delicious or what? I am ready to give this a little taste. And of course I'd get a plate out and make this nice and pretty, but since it's just me, I'm going to eat right out of the bowl. Bon appetit. Yes. Immediately, the crunch from the pine nuts and the kale. Then you just get that freshness of the mustard and the lemon. Just brightens everything up, gives it a nice zing. So good. Okay guys, I'm going to clean this up. And we're going to move on to our next dish. Alright, welcome back everybody. We finished our salad. Now we're moving on to our appetizer. This is a pesto flatbread, and I'm making a kale pesto. I know you're like, what? Well, you can use other greens to make pesto. Perfectly fine. So I've got some kale here, about 2 cups. I've just blanched in a little water, just to kind of break it down a little bit so it's not as fibrous. I don't want, I want the pesto to have good textures. And I'm just going to plop this in. I'm using a strainer here to try and catch the liquid. Now if a little liquid gets in here, it's okay. That's going to help us break this down. But I don't want this to be too watered down. I want it to have some good flavor. Okay, so there's that. Now to this, we've got some fun things here. First of all, it is the rest of my toasted pine nuts. I took a little of those for my salad. Now I've got the rest here. It's going to go into my pesto. And just kind of slide that right in there. Make sure we get all of that goodness. I always like to toast my nuts. It gives them extra flavor. That's a very chefy thing. You can impress your friends by toasting your nuts. Okay, now to this. I've got 2 cheeses here, some ricotta, which is going to be for later on when we assemble the flatbread. But I've also got some Parmesan here. And this is the good stuff, the grated Parmesan. Pretty much of this container. About half. What's great about the Parmesan, it's going to add some body and some texture. But Parmesan's naturally salty, and then you get that kind of nuttiness. It's going to add some really nice flavor here. And then, of course, my preserved garlic. Now you can use whole garlic cloves if you want. You just want to make sure they're peeled. I'm adding about a tablespoon. I want this to have lots of flavor, guys. And the rest of my lemon from earlier, this is just going to brighten everything up, add some freshness. I'm going to go ahead and dig these seeds out here, though. We don't want seeds in our pesto. No good. And then we'll just squeeze this right over top, give it a really hearty squeeze. And one more seed there. Whoops. Let's give this a really hearty squeeze, get all of that lemony goodness out of there. Awesome. And then we just throw the lid on this baby and give it a pulse. Alright, so we close the lid on this baby. I'm going to give it, just kind of pulse it, start to break these ingredients down. You're going to get an almost gremolata kind of texture. Alright, that looks good. Now for the olive oil. I'm going to go ahead and turn this on. I'm going to leave it on, and then I'm going to start to slowly drizzle in some olive oil. I like doing it this way better because I can keep an eye on how things are going, and I can make sure that I don't get too much liquid in here. I want just enough that it comes to a cohesive sauce. Alright, flatbread time. Yes, I'm using store-bought flatbread. You want to make your own, more power to you. This is Stonefire. They make good naan too. This is perfect. Just the size I want, just a nice little appetizer kind of size. And I'm going to season this here, just a little drizzle of oil on top. I always like to season my dough or bread. Keeps it nice and moist. Now, for the pesto. So excited, guys. Alright, take this lid off here. Watch this guy, he likes to make a run for it. Now I'm just going to take this mixture here. I'm going to spoon it right out. Just a big dollop here. And one more. You can always add more if you want. I like to start kind of with just a little at first, and I'm just, I want like a nice, generous layer of this. Just a nice even layer. I'm going all the way close to the edge. I'm going to leave a little bit of a border because I like that kind of crispy edge. And then we'll just take this and kind of, I'm just using the back of the spoon. You can use a knife. You have like a cake spatula, whatever you like to use. I don't want it too thick. That's going to keep our dough from getting done in the middle. But I just want a nice generous layer. I don't want to see too much of the flatbread poking out. Okay, so I've got some ricotta here. I love ricotta, guys. And it's great when it's in the oven and it bakes. It gets that kind of crustiness on top, and then it melts like butter. So I've got a small ice cream scoop here. And I'm just going to take this ricotta, and I'm just going to plop it right on top. Just like a little dollop of cream on a waffle or butter. And I think about, well, I want every piece to have a good amount of this, so I'm gonna, I think 7 scoops, something like that. That'll be good. This is already looking amazing, but I am not done yet. I'm going to sprinkle some more of this fresh Parmesan on top. Now if you wanted to add like some crispy prosciutto or some pancetta, make sure it's cooked first. You don't want to put it on here raw, that would be good too, but I think I'm going to keep it kind of vegetarian today. Now I've already got my oven preheated to 425. This is going to cook for about 10 to 12 minutes, just until it's the dough is crispy and the cheese is nice and bubbly on top. And I will see you guys when this is ready to come out. Alright guys, time to pull out our flatbread. And look at that beautiful, nice golden brown on top. That cheese. So good. Now while that cheese is nice and bubbly, I am going to kind of push down on it. Just kind of spread it out a little. Oh, it just smells amazing. I can't even. Okay, let's get my pizza cutter here. And I kind of like to just go down the middle and then across into 4s. If you want, you can get fancy and do like triangles, but it's just us. And then just kind of come through. I think this will cut into 4s. That looks about good. Alright, we'll cut the rest of this here in a minute, but I just want to come in here. Look at that gorgeous, you can see that crust, still nice and soft in the middle, but nice and hard on the outside. And that ricotta, so good. Immediately get the texture of that crust. You get all those bright flavors from the pesto. The kale really gives it something just a little different than traditional basil pesto. And then of course that ricotta, it's like butter, it just melts in your mouth, it's so good. So I'm going to finish this and clean up, and then we will move on to our soup So stay tuned. Welcome back, everybody. We are on to our last dish. It is an Italian wedding soup, which I'm going to finish off with some kale. It's going to give it some nice color, some nice body, and some nice texture. But first, I'm starting with my meatballs. And for my meatballs, I need 2 eggs. I like to crack my eggs first, so I can watch for eggshells. Lovely. Alright, let's grab a fork here. I just like to beat my eggs a little bit. The eggs are going to be a binder. It's going to help hold everything together. And for our meat, I've got some ground beef here. It's about 1.5 pounds. Just squeeze that right out. Nice. And also some sausage. Now, meatballs, yeah, usually it's ground pork, or you could do veal. I've even done it with like turkey before, or ground chicken. I like the sausage though, it has some nice flavor to it. This is an Italian style, so it's got some sage in it. It's going to just be some really nice flavor there. Okay, now, to season everything. Always some salt and some pepper. About a teaspoon and a half of salt. That's going to pick up some flavor as it cooks in our soup. So we'll have that as well. And then about a teaspoon of pepper. I've also got some Italian seasoning here. I'm going to do about a half teaspoon of that. I don't want too much. I've already got sage here in the sausage. So I just want to give it a little extra something. And then some more of my preserved garlic. About a couple teaspoons of that. And last but not least, our breadcrumbs. I'm using a panko style here. I like the texture that it gives. I'm doing about a half a cup. I want this thing to be more meat than anything, but you need the breadcrumbs to kind of help hold everything together. And the breadcrumbs, the other great thing about the breadcrumbs, they're going to absorb a lot of the liquid from the soup, so our meat stays nice and tender. And then we just come in here with some clean hands and mix it all up. Alright, that feels pretty good to me. I'm going to rinse my hands off, wrap this up, and store it in my fridge while I get the soup going. Welcome back. I'm just finishing dicing up my veggies for our soup. I've got some onion here, that's just one small yellow onion, and a couple stalks of celery. In my skillet here I've got some olive oil and I've got some butter. The oil is going to help brown our vegetables, get them nice and tender. The butter is going to give it some flavor. And I'm just going to dump that right in. I love that sizzle. That's one of my favorite sounds in the kitchen. And we season in layers, so I'm going to go ahead and throw in some salt here. That's also going to help draw out the moisture from the vegetables and help them cook down sooner. And some pepper. And we'll give that a stir. Get that coated in our butter and oil and let it cook down. Alright, I'm going to give this another stir, guys. They're starting to cook down nicely, get nice and translucent. I've got some more of my preserved garlic here. I know I'm a fiend when it comes to the preserved garlic. But it's so much easier when it's already broken down for you and then you get some of that garlic oil, so it's extra flavor. I'm doing about a tablespoon of that. And I'm just going to stir this in quickly. I always wait to add my garlic last, otherwise it'll burn. And this is so fragrant already. The onion, the celery, the garlic now. It's just amazing. And I've got my skillet going here. We're going to start cooking our meatballs. I like to fry my meatballs first, get a nice texture on all sides, nice crust. And then I'll drop them into my soup to let them finish cooking. Alright guys, I think our oil is good and hot. I'm going to go ahead and start plopping in my meatballs here. I've got my little scoop again. I went kind of smaller meatballs for this soup. If I was doing meatballs for like spaghetti meatballs or like a meatball hoagie, I would definitely do bigger, almost golf ball size. But these are smaller. And I'm going to have to go in stages. I don't want to overcrowd my skillet, otherwise my meatballs will steam and they won't get nice and crispy like I want. This smells good too, all that sage from the sausage. Immediately hits the air as soon as I drop it into that oil. So good. Alright, this is looking really good. I'm going to turn it down just a smidge. I'm going to go ahead and add my liquid. I've got some chicken stock here. I'm using the whole container. And then I'm just going to kind of let that mellow out. Bring itself to a boil. About that time we should be ready to throw in our meatballs and then we'll finish it off. Alright, time to flip these babies over. Look at that beautiful golden crust. Yum. Oh, it looks so good. That's that sausage. It fries up nicely. It's got a lot of good fat in it. I cannot wait to have one of these babies. And one more. And now that these have cooked down some, they have given me some more room in my skillet. So I can come in and plop in some more of these. Here on the other end. Try and keep them separated so they don't contaminate the ones that are half cooked. Alright, I'm going to start pulling some of these guys out. I've got a plate here with a paper towel to help drain some of this grease. They're browned pretty good on both sides. They're still a little under on the inside, but they'll finish cooking in our soup once that comes to a boil. I just want to make some room so I can fry up the rest of these here. And I like, the other thing, like if you go out and get the soup, a lot of times the balls are like spherical, and I'm always sketchy whether it's, if that's like frozen balls. When you do them yourself, you get, they're not all the same size, so you get that kind of rustic look, which I really like. And we'll turn these guys over there just about. They really don't take long, just a couple minutes on each side just to get browned through. And I should be able to fit the rest of my mixture in here. Alright guys, I've got the last of my meatballs cooking now. The water is just about at a boil, so I'm going to go ahead and add my rice. Those of you who are not familiar with Italian wedding soup, it has rice in it, it's got veggies, it's got meat. And a lot of people, they think that it's called wedding because it has something to do with weddings. That it was a cheap alternative to serve at a wedding. I'm just adding a cup and a half. But really, really it's marriage soup, but it's more about how the flavors marry together, how they all work together. And yes, it is it's a nice hearty soup, and it's a good way to stretch out ingredients. Now I'm gonna let this rice cook. I'm gonna put a lid on that. So I want that rice to cook through. It's gonna take about 18 to 20 minutes to sort of cook through. I want it to release some of that starch before I finish off with our other ingredients here. And I'm just going to finish here getting these meatballs out. Guys, we're almost there. I can't wait. It's going to be so delicious. Okay, guys, I'm turning this down to a slower heat. Our rice is just about cooked through. This is looking amazing. It's smelling amazing. I'm going to go ahead and add my meat. It's going to take just a little longer to cook than the rest of my ingredients. Now I want to be really delicate how I do this. I don't want these to fall apart. So I'm just going to slowly plop them in. And look at that gorgeous little golden crust we got on these. Oh, so amazing. Now, these may not all fit, and that's fine. We may have a few pieces here and there for maybe a late night snack. But I'm going to try and get as many in here as we can. Alright, that looks pretty good. I'm going to let that kind of mellow out. Put the lid back on. And we are just about ready to go. Alright, let's take the lid off this baby. I've got two things here. It's a can of diced carrots I drained the liquid from. Now if you have fresh, they take a little longer to break down. They don't break down the same as like the onions and the celery, so I didn't want to do that. These are already cooked. They've been processed. I just kind of throw them in last minute. And then the rest of my kale here, I'm just going to kind of break this up a little bit. And the kale again, it's not like collard greens where it has to stew all day. These you can just kind of throw in literally last minute. They're going to quickly break down into this broth we've got going here. It's going to add some nice color, some nice flavor. And it doesn't take much. And I just like to break it up so it's smaller pieces, easier to eat. Alright. Tell me that does not look delicious. And I'm just going to kind of stir this in. Again, the carrots, they're already cooked, so you just want them to come to temp. And our meatballs should be nice and cooked through. If you want, you can take one out and kind of tear into it just to test it. You just want to make sure, especially with the sausage being in there, that it's not pink. Okay, and I'm just going to let that mellow out for a couple more minutes, and we will be ready to go. I'm going to grab my bowl and a spoon. I think we are good to go. I'm going to switch this guy out for a ladle, and I've got my bowl here. I'm just going to come in here and get a nice big ladle full, get some of those balls, and a little more of that broth. It's got a lot of flavor in it as well. And then I've got some more of that fresh Parmesan from earlier. I'm just going to sprinkle a little on top just to make it a little more luxe. And we are ready to dig in. Alright guys, does that not look delicious or what? Oh my goodness. Okay, I'm going to come in here. I want to get some of that broth first. So good. You get the chicken stock, but then those veggies give it a nice flavor. And then I just want to come in here to that meatball. So good. You still get a little of that texture from the outside, that browning. It gives it some good flavor. And then it's nice and moist on the inside, just nice and soft. Soft and tender. And the kale gives it some lovely color and some lovely texture as well. Well, I'm going to finish up my soup here. But as always, I appreciate you guys for tuning in. As always, like and subscribe, and until next time, bon appetit.